Oh, distortion chorus, it could only mean one thing. 80s, that's what's for dinner. So today we're talking about just, I think, one of the best 80s solos. You know, I'm a humongous Key Marcello fan. I feel like he's severely underrated as a guitar player. And just a solo that has kind of everything in it that I love about the 80s. So if you want tabs for the solo to Superstitious, I'm going to tab that out and link it down below for you. You can snag it all if you want to. So yes, the Key Marcello Masterpiece. Now I'm going to break it down for you. Like I said before, you can get the tabs linked below if you want to. And it's just such a cool solo. And I really think anytime you learn a solo, it's important to learn what's happening behind the solo. Learn the rhythms to a lot of this stuff. Because if you look at what's happening behind the solo, it's really nice chords. And that's really where we're going to start. So I'll break down the whole solo. It's all this real nice F major, kind of like F major vibe throughout the whole solo. But of course, Key has all these dynamics. It's a solo that I always wanted to learn, and it always kind of defeated me, that real fast picking part. And I was like, I'm going to sit down and learn it. So I got it close. I'm not saying this is 100%. Key has a lot of dynamics in his speed control that I don't necessarily have. So if you really want to get it down to the nitty gritty, go listen to the actual solo and get all those little fine details that Key's doing. But this was close enough for me. That's kind of how I approach learning other people's stuff. I'm like, okay, I got the general idea of it. I'm not a note for note kind of guy. But I think I have the notes right. It's more of the feel and the timing that is going to take the most work for this. Now, like I said, behind the solo, before we get to the actual solo itself, the chords behind it, and like I said, it's all based out of F. This F major kind of vibe is what I'm hearing it and seeing it as. And I do have lots of delay, chorus, and reverb on, and I'm just going to leave it on there because, well, 80s, that's why. So the first chord here is really this F sus2 chord. So he's just starting on the 1, and you could just do power chords if you wanted. But if you really want to dissect it a little bit more, like I said, it really helps sometimes to understand the rhythm behind it. I believe it's an F sus2 is what he's starting on, and he goes to this chord. And you might be like, oh, well, it's some kind of E. Well, it's actually just a C major chord with an E in the bass. So, E/C. This is just something I kind of got from Eric Johnson, this whole moving your 3rd and 5th around into the bass. Then he goes down to a D minor, and then that B flat major, A sharp major, whatever you want to call it. And so basically just going from the 1, okay? Then he goes to the C, which is his 5. There's the minor 6, and he goes back to the 4. Real simple, common progression, but gives you a lot of room to work with whenever you're doing a solo. So that's kind of behind the solo. Now what's actually happening in here, well, let's get it. Alright, so the solo itself starts right here. And like I said, Key has so many different dynamics happening in this. I forget what he calls the ability. He basically starts slow a lot of times, and he speeds up into this really fast run. And like I said, that's one of the things I loved about his playing. But we're starting right here. We're going to go 10, 11, and 13 on the B string. One thing to pay attention with Key is his picking. He accents, again, this goes back to the dynamics thing, is he's accenting very particular notes. He doesn't play anything one-dimensional. He's not going do-do-do-do, like he's not monotone. He's very dynamic. He's hitting that last note harder. Then he adds some hammer-ons and pull-off. But it's not all hammer-on and pull-off. There's like a little hammer-on pull-off, and then he picks the last note. So like I said, if you really want to dive into it, there's tons of little things happening in the solo. But I'm just going to kind of like give you the general idea. Okay, so after you do that 10, 11, 13, you go back to 11 and you hammer on 13 and you pull off to 10. And what's kind of tricky here is if you're not used to doing this, I'm using my middle finger and pinky, and that's it. And then I go back to 10, but I pick it. The dynamics, I'm telling you, they're crazy. Okay? Okay, now he lands on that G note, that 12th fret on the G. Okay? Now he walks it back up. He's going to go from 10 on the G to 12, and then 10, 11, 13 on the B. Back to 10 on the G. Okay, so far we have... Alright, already a really melodic thing. Like I said, Key is one of those guys who solos in major keys a lot, when a lot of the 80s was doing all the minor stuff. And to me, it set him apart from the rest of the guys, and always super melodic, but still shreddy. You know, he still shreds it up here in a minute. Now here, he's bending 13 on the B string up a full step. And he kind of lets it fall, and he pulls back off to 11. Okay, then he goes back to 13, back to 10. And this cool little octave thing that he does, he slides from 10 up to 12 on the G, 15 on the high E string, and then 13 on the B. Okay, so... Now he's all the way up here to 18 now, and bends up a full step. Then you're gonna walk down this nice little F major triad. Oh. I guess it's kind of like a F sus4 or something like that. Okay, so, and he goes 18. So 18, 17, 18, 17 on the high E string. Then he goes to 18 on the B, and then 17 on the G. Like I said, make sure you're looking at the tabs, because when you are kind of like breaking out a whole solo, it's hard to break it down sometimes and play it slow once you've just learned how to play it. So now here he's gonna bend 15 up to 17, and I really think it sounds like he does a second bend here. I see some people go like, to me it sounds like he's bending it again. So he's bending 15 up to 17 on the G. Then he goes 15, 14, 15, bend up to 17. Then you release the bend back to 15, and you play it fretted again. So, okay, now here's a really cool thing that he does. He's bending up a step and a half. He goes, so, a little bit of a tricky bend to get in here. Like I said, it's not a normal full step bend. He's doing a step and a half. So he's bending 15 on the B, all the way up, essentially, to 18. Okay? Goes back to 13. And then 14, 15. Now here's another little like trilly hammer-on line. So he's 15, 14 on the G, and then he hammers on to 15 and pulls off to 14. Then he goes to the D, and it's 17, 15, 14. Okay, so... Now what I have to do is I have to transition my hands here and do a little bit of a shift. You might find an easier way to do this. For me, this is just what kind of worked for me. And you know, I'm not saying I even know exactly where key is playing this stuff. I just actually listened to it on YouTube, slowed it down, and just figured it out. So, but I have to go. Okay, then I have to transition up here. Now the first little speed run here is way more difficult than what you might think. The notes aren't difficult. Listen to how Key plays it. I'm not playing it right, but he does it in this really funky rhythmic way, and I'm like, oh, it sounds so cool. I never really have gotten that right. So he's just walking up the scale here. Like I said, it's F major. I view this as being a Dorian shape. We're not in Dorian, it's just the Dorian shape. If you know your 3-note per string patterns. So he's going to go 15, 17, 19 on the A, 15, 17, 19 on the D, 15, 17, 19 on the G, and then on the B string he goes 17, 18, 20. Okay? He like starts slow and gradually speeds up. It's such a cool key Marcello thing. Okay? My vibrato was funky there, sorry. So he's bending 20 on the B string now, up a full step, and he does it twice. Now he does the whole little like release pull-off thing that we did earlier. Goes back to that 18, and then he bends 20 again. Sorry, he doesn't bend the last 20. Now he starts the same melodic line. Same exact dynamics as before, he's just up a lot higher. So he goes 17, 18, 20 on the high string. Okay? Then you go 18, hammer on 20, pull off the 18, pick 17. Then you go to 20 on the B. Now you you're going to walk it up 18, 20, 17, 18, 20. And resolve it back to that 18 on the B. Okay? Now, here comes the big section. We're going to bend 20 on the high E string. Okay? So... Oh. It's hard to play it slow. I got used to it the other way. Now, here's a section that I think I play different than key, but it's what worked better for my hand. So I guess I never really like focus on where they're playing it at. I just want to get the notes right. And one thing I noticed is whenever I slowed it down, he was going like this. Okay, and then I think he actually shifts up here. Something like that. And what I found was easier is I shift down. So I do the whole phrase. Okay, same notes. Okay, so I'm playing the exact same notes. I just kind of made it work with what's with me. If you hear all the crazy noise, our neighbor who is always mowing, they've upgraded in their roofing. They're putting a roof on their garage, so we're just going to have to deal with whatever sounds are happening today. So anyways, it starts all the way up here. We're going to go 20, 18, 17 on the high E string. Okay, now it's very staccato. Listen to the way he does it to get the rhythmic side of it right, because he does this twice, but they're not exactly the same. He goes... Okay, so... You know, then he kind of takes off and he goes really fast. So we have that first part. So as I butcher there at the end. But basically after you do that section, you're going to do this little descending 4 section just for a minute, and then he turns it around. It's really tricky. So you go to 20 on the B string, and you go 18, 17 on the high string. And then you go 20 to 18 on the B. Now we have to kind of like circle around. Like I said, this is where the tabs will come in handy. So 17, 18, 20. 17, 18, 20 on the high string. 18, 17. So... Now the rest is pretty simple because we just double everything. Once you get that first little bit out of the way, it gets a little bit easier. The speed becomes the issue. So, okay, so here and out we just double everything except for one little part. There goes my pick. I was prepared and I have picks on demand. So we're gonna go 20, 18, 17 twice on the B, all alternate picking. Sorry, not that. Shifting down, same pattern that we sent before. 19, 17, 15 twice. Same thing on the D. Now here's where I kind of deviate a little bit and I shift down. So you have this. Now instead of transitioning up here like Key does, however he does it, I shift down and I'm going to go 14, 12, 14, 15 on the D. This is the only part that is different. He doesn't just double this. Okay, now I transition up and I'm going to go 12, 14, 15 on the G twice. 13, 15, 17 twice on the B. Same thing on the high string. Okay, so we have... Close. It's something like that. He's doing it so fast. It's hard to... transition. So then he goes all the way up here to this 20. Okay? Then it's that same little like F sus4 arpeggio that we did before. So he goes 18, 17, 18, 17, 18 on the B, 17 on the G. Okay, now this where it's hard, it kills my fingers. He's at 22 and he bends up a step and a half. I think it's a step first and then a step and a half, or maybe it's 2 step and a halves. I can't totally remember, but it's a big bend. Oh, my fingers hurt. Okay, so we have that. Just pretend that I'm doing it, because it's literally, it's taking me so many takes, it's killing my fingers. Okay, so after that big bend, like I said, my fingers are killing me right now. It goes 18, 17, 18. Now a little more of this little trill thing that he does. So he goes 18, 17, hammer on 18, pull off 17. Then you're going to walk this down, 20, 18, 17. Okay, so we have big bend. Woo, woo. Now he kind of does the same scale again, but he hits the high string this time. Okay, so all you're going to do is go 15, 17, 19 on the D and the G, and then 17, 18, 20 on the B and the high. Bend that 20 up like your life depended on it. And this is another one of those little bend pull-off things. He's bending 20, and I think he's pulling off the 17, and then he finishes with a big old bend on 20. Actually, it's not a bend. It's just like a vibrato. Okay, so there you have it. Let me do the whole solo slow. My foot fell asleep. Oh my god. And there you have it, solo. I was gonna try to play the fast section up to speed, and my hands were just like, brah, nah. You've done your damage with the bend. I wish you could see my fingers, man. Those step and a half bends, brutal on 10 gauge strings. I think that's gonna be it. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll play you some 80s rhythm out of here. Although the video might already be kind of long, but you know what? I'll give you some F major rhythm to jam over.